In today's F1 Manager Career Mode episode, we are racing at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. If you haven't seen the previous round at Zandvoort, guys, go check it out. Link in the top right. But yeah, before we jump into spoilers, I do recommend you watch it because there is a couple of questions for you guys in that episode regarding the future of this series. So do give it a watch. But here we are at Monza, a big power circuit. Now before we jump into this, we know the next race could potentially be our strongest opportunity this season to get points. However, we're going to maximize this weekend first and make sure we don't make the same mistake as the last race and we actually run our freshest power unit. So, no race forecast, we're going to get into the action. Leave a like if you're going to enjoy, subscribe for more, and let's get into it. As always, we're going to quickly run over the incentives, which is going to be Q2, finishing in the top 15 and also in the top 15 in the race with both cars, as for qualifying as well. For the guarantees, I've guaranteed a P15 or above, and also we've currently got an active qualifying position streak of P15 for 3 races. So let's get into it and let's see if we can make this all happen.
Welcome to Life in the Fast Lane. We're here at Monza in Italy, the home of Ferrari. But who will take home the points this weekend? Let's find out as we get started with the Italian Grand Prix. Monza, a centurion among circuits, dripping with motorsport history. Expect to see cars fly by as 80% of the track is tackled at full throttle. It's not all go, however, and brakes can be prone to overheating through the tight chicanes that Monza has to offer. With the season nearly concluded, time is running out for the teams. Can anyone make a last-minute breakthrough? Can the leading drivers hold on? Only time will tell. There's nothing like a race weekend in Formula One.
Now, another weekend which we don't really have updates to talk about. We are working on some future upgrades which should arrive for the next race. Until then, we're going to just basically treat it as business as usual. So, for FP1, I'm going to give Dragovic a bit of a rundown. I feel like Seb does gain track experience relatively quickly. So, for this one, we'll let Dragovic take over his car and build up his experience a little bit. So yeah, we're going to run the same power unit as we had in Zandvoort on both cars and also gearbox as well. As for the rest of it, we're going to try the soft tyres as I think this could be a better option. Shout out to Chaddy in my Discord for pointing this out to me. Run plan, 22 laps of fuel and both drivers on conserve. So let's get into it and let's get the run plans on the way. So Dragovic out there in the Aston Martin, of course, in Seb's car, and now Stroll will also follow. I'm looking forward to this weekend, even though it's a power circuit. The first chicane, also the 4-5 chicane, they are low-speed corners, which could still be a potential strength for our car. So I'm interested. Our acceleration also is very good in terms of our statistics. So there's no reason why this couldn't be a decent weekend for us. So Dragovic not happy, 44% confidence. This is the earliest I've ever received setup confidence, by the way. 20 minutes, that is a record. We'll bring Dragovic in though and send him out for a second run, which will be on hard tyres, and we're going to let him run to the end of the session pretty much and just rack up laps.
I'm not happy with my car. Copy.
I'm pretty confident this is going to work very well for Dragovic with the setup. We've got all the bads flipped to one side. I'm a little bit doubtful of oversteer because if it were up to me, I'd move this over here. But by putting it on this side, it makes the rest of the setup impossible to align with what the feedback is. So I'm guessing it has to be somewhere in this region. It is a little bit out of the bracket, but it's not a big deal. We're going to send him out on hard tyres and basically let him run to the end of the session pretty much. I'm going to fuel him nice and long and let him go. As for Lance, we're also going to go for a bit of an adjustment. So great on braking stability. So we have something to aim for. Everything else is getting flipped upside down. So let's see how this goes. I'm confident this should at least be around 80% plus. Either way, same for him, hard tyres. We're going to go for 22 laps of Lance because we're sending him out a bit later than Dragovic, but let's get into it. Well, that was pretty ideal. Straight away, optimal with Dragovic on our second run in FP1, so happy days. I've got him in a bit more engine mode because I overfueled.
How's the balance? Yeah, good job with the car.
FP1 in the books. Charles Leclerc though has a penalty for Ferrari. No incident, so I'm guessing engine change. Same for Ricciardo, there was no incident, so something happened. Nick De Vries, by the way, took part in FP1 for Mercedes. Interesting to see other teams running young drivers. Of course, we saw Piastri back in Imola for Alpine. But yeah, as for us, further down, Stroll P16, Drogovic P18. I let the drivers push a little bit at the end of FP1. Felipe, though, having a pretty good showing. No mistakes from either driver as we pit them against each other. And yeah, so far, so good. Right, so Seb back in the car. Soft tyres for the first FP2 run. Then we're going to try and run the mediums. As for the setup, I've made an adjustment on the front wing angle. So we're running a little bit inside the bracket here to move it from grey to optimal. Everything else I've managed to realign, so we should be okay. I've lost a little bit on the straights, but hopefully it won't affect us too badly. And then also we're going for 18 laps on the conserve mode once again. As for Stroll, it's a bit more of a guess. We've got optimal straights. Everything else is great, so I'm going to have to experiment here and see what I'm looking at in terms of adjustments. So traction and stability and braking are pretty much unchanged. It's cornering and oversteer. They get an adjustment to the left. So we'll see whether it's to the left or to the right on these two and see what happens. It's going to take, I think, a bit longer though to get 100% with Lance, as there's less signs as to what to change compared to Seb's car.
That was amazing.
Copy that.
Right then, that's one car done. Seb happy, thanks to the work of Drogovic in FP1 as well. Okay, so it feels great. Still a bit of work to do with Lance. So like I said, I'm not sure if we'll get 100 straight away. It's going to take a bit more work, you know, tweaking, trying to find what works for him. So with Lance, I'm still not fully certain. We have gone from great optimal to now having optimal cornering and traction. I'm guessing a little bit here with braking stability to the left. My gut feeling says it's to the right. Oversteer, I know this is going to be optimal because we're just outside the bracket, so this is going to move us here and move us to optimal. So braking stability is going to be the big question here, and whether this adjustment is going to help us out. Both drivers onto set mediums, and they're going to go for as long as the session goes for, to be honest. Ooh, Seb making a small mistake.
Taking a look again, it involves Sebastian Vettel. Oh dear, that's far wider than they would have wanted.
Only a minor error, to be fair, but it is going to give him some underfloor damage. So we'll have to get a replacement on for FP3. Still though, we're going to leave him out there. It shouldn't affect his run. Virtual safety car. So Sainz, Haas behind. Is he going to get rear-ended? Yes, he is.
And that's a big smack.
Yeah, good job with the car.
Copy that.
Okay, we're getting closer. I think I know what it is. What I said was correct. I think the oversteer is going to be optimal, but the braking stability is going to be great still. Now then, with that big incident, of course, there's going to be another penalty, this time added to Kevin Magnussen, so 3 cars drop him back in the race. Magnussen and Ricciardo are in our ballpark, so that's going to help us out, I think. FP2 though, P18, P19, not too shabby with the mediums on the worn engine. We're now moving to FP3.
Our race weekend continues as we head into FP3 and then qualifying. The teams will be looking to build on yesterday's momentum. Having seen how the cars and drivers are reacting to the circuit, they have a little more time to make some final changes. But by the end of the day, we'll know exactly how the drivers will be lining up on the grid for tomorrow's race. You're going to want to join us for this, folks, so fasten your seatbelts.
Oh, Seb with a mistake into turn 1.
This was the Aston Martin.
So Seb with a small lockup.
That's the lockup.
Not a big deal, but small error into turn 1. We're not really getting it. I'm struggling, although I know what I have to do now, so we'll make sure we fix it. Lance now has 100% track acclimatization, so we'll bring him in and make the adjustments. Seb, though, he's still chilling out there. Happy days for him. Right, I think this is it. Optimal is on the left side, which is where I'm going. Hopefully this does the trick. There's not a lot of room for, maneuvering with this now, so it's hard to get the perfect adjustment. But I'm happy with, what I'm seeing. So, yeah, we'll send Stroll back out on another set of softs and let him run, basically, until the end of the session. Small mistake now from Stroll. He's also made the same mistake as Sebastian out of turn 5. Luckily, no damage there by the looks of it.
I'm happy with the car.
Copy.
Well, there we go. Not quite 100, but we'll take that. As close as we're going to get. Checkered flag has dropped. Seb might just run out of fuel, to be fair, on the end lap, but it's not really a concern. And there we go, he's actually run out. Not a big deal though. Session over. Right, FP3 finished. Leclerc setting the pace. Again, we know about the penalties, of course. Seb P17, Stroll P18. We're now going to change the power unit. As for the recap, Seb just manages to get 95%. That's why I left him out until his fuel ran out, because I wanted to make sure we got the 95, which means we get the maximum performance bonus, 15 out of 15. So both drivers looking good. Lance in the end getting to 99%. As for Lance, we're ready to go for qualifying. You can see we didn't quite get optimal on braking stability. Not quite sure why not, but anyway, we're happy with this. 99% is fine. Both cars are going to go for 3 flying laps. We have changed the components. You can see here on both drivers we have their updated engines. So there we go. Let's get into it and let's get the show on the road. Last minute change, I've realised I had another engine with Seb, which is 10% fresher, so we'll go for this one, which will give him 95%, which lines up with Lance's engine as well. As you can see, the parts are equal. That makes more sense. Let's see then. So first laps are in. Stroll a 10th off Seb. Russell goes a full second quicker. On to the second push lap, which we know is usually better. Seb's going to encounter traffic in the form of Bottas, whereas Stroll's going to clear him. Still, both drivers improving. Personal best in both sectors. Seb finds 2/10, Stroll finds 2/10. And we'll now go for the final run and see if we find even more time. Track is pretty quiet now. We're going to get some lovely clear track for this last run. Not a lot of activity on track, to be fair. We might hit the Red Bulls. We clear them with Seb. Stroll will also clear them in time before the Parabolica. Seb improves again by 0.5. Stroll does not improve. So there's the first runs in the books, and we're looking okay so far. Not too far off Zhou, also not a million miles away from the AlphaTauris. Right then, 15 seconds to go. We should get round in time. Stroll's going to have a slight tow from Sebastian, so let's get into it. First of all, the first chicane, the Variante del Retalfiglio. Then we head down through Curva Grande, turn 3. Sector 1 needs to be a personal best, and it is for both drivers. Now into the Lesmos, Sector 2. Seb currently in, Stroll currently out. We know Sainz will move up the order. And he does, but not by much, to be fair, only P13. So let's see, Sector 2. If we get another green helmet, that would be encouraging. Sebastian's up. Stroll is also up. This is good. This is looking very good. Other cars already finishing. The McLaren's looking pretty strong, to be fair. Ricciardo ahead of Norris, which is a bit of a surprise. We've usually been battling with Ricciardo lately, so McLaren have taken a step forward. But let's see. It's looking like it's all about Zhou Guanyu. What does he do? He doesn't improve. Okay, he does. He finds a 10th. So we could be in trouble here. We're going to lose a car. The question is, who's it going to beat? Sebastian or Lance? Seb across the line. Finds nearly a 10th. Stroll finds nearly 2/10, but unfortunately he's out, and that's Q1 done for Lance. So that's confirmation. We lose a car. It does seem like we're a little bit off the pace here. It's a power circuit, as I originally expected. You know, there are some slow corners which do help our car, but generally this isn't going to suit our car. So we've taken a bit of a step back. You can see, I think even P15 might be the best we can hope for with Seb in Q2, because the AI don't usually find a 10th of, you know, improvement. So yeah, happy with that. Not too disappointed. Decent enough pace. Ricciardo might fall behind us with the grid penalty in Q2, but yeah, let's get into it. So Sebastian's out on the tyres that he used to get into Q2 with, so slightly used. He's on a 2-lap run right now. So let's see. First lap on the board is going to be P7. A little bit off the pace from the cars ahead. McLaren have definitely brought some upgrades. They are a lot quicker than what they were 4 or 5 races ago. Let's see what Sebastian's second lap is though. Personal best first sector. Middle sector was a bit of a letdown. He only improves by 0.5 and stays P14. Let's bring him in and let's get the final run underway. Single lap flyer. I'm not too confident though we're going to get anything other than P15 here. I've noticed everyone's gone out pretty early on this final run compared to Q1. We'll send Sebastian out with about 2:20 to go. Right, let's do this. 2 times speed just to make sure it's not too slow, but let's go for a full lap with Seb. Ideally, I want 2 green sectors before we head to the last one to know if I'm on a decent lap or not. I think Seb may have got held up in the second sector before, so there should be an improvement. He's green in sector 1, which is a good start. I know he'll definitely be green in sector 2, I think, because of traffic. If he isn't, then it's looking a bit ropey for us. Lap times, though, starting to be set. Zhou Guanyu, to be fair, is only 2/10 ahead of us. That's not totally impossible. Sainz only P13, so possibly Carlos could be running a worn engine because he was slow in Q1. Norris out, Bottas out, but these guys are a bit too far away now. You know, we're looking at 0.5 second, which is a bit unrealistic for us. Ricciardo into Q3, but look at the gaps from, you know, from Alonso or Tsunoda down to Norris. It's pretty compact in this midfield area. Let's see that up to the line. Sebastian Vettel, can he pull out a miracle? Let's find out. It's an improvement, and it's a 10th quicker, but it's only P15. And there we go, P15 confirmed, out in Q2. We hit the guarantee, but that's about it. So, if we compare to Q1, you can see we did go a little bit quicker, dipped into the threes, but that's about it. That's all we had really. So yeah, Ricciardo, if he qualifies P10, he'll drop behind us in the race. If not, we're starting P15 and P16. So let's get into it and let's see what happens. Now then, race time. Both cars, both drivers on the same strap, medium soft. I think it's the way forward and we'll make it work. Overall, fuel-wise, we're going to keep them baseline. I'm not going to take the fuel out, especially at a power circuit. We might consider this at Singapore, though, the next race. Driver options, both of them are going to go full attack and push and deploy everything they've got for the first lap to try and make up a couple of places. Then it's going to be so important that we stay in the DRS train, and hopefully the fresher engine compared to Zandvoort should help us achieve that. So let's get into it.
The drivers there lined up on the grid under mostly sunny skies. And there's Sebastian Vettel. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. There's Lance Stroll, down the grid. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. The teams are ready to go. Here we go. It's the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
This is it. Underway then, off the line. Lately, Stroll has been getting the upper hand compared to his teammate. This time, though, Seb has a pretty decent start himself. Sainz still P13, so I do wonder if he's running a worn engine, which might put him slightly down on the straights. Into turn one, though, everybody single file as we go 2 times speed to try and get to the point a bit quicker. Let's see then. So Sebastian looking at Carlos. Could we get past the Ferrari here? The former Ferrari driver looking to get past. Stroll also looking for a move. No pressure from behind. Still no real moves done yet on lap 1. Maybe a few up-and-coming moves here as we race down to Ascari. Let's see. Can we try and get a lap 1 move done? If not, then that could be it for the opener. We're going to have to go into standard modes after this and just basically manage everything. And that's what we're going to do. So, lap 1 in the books. We'll put both drivers in baseline modes. And we'll let them crack on and see what we can do. So P14, P15 right now. Ricciardo down to P17 with that penalty. So a bit further down than I expected. Seb actually challenging Sainz in standard modes here. We'll see if we can try and get by. But very important that we do not drop out of the DRS range. That is the golden rule here for this race. We're going to have to be very efficient, very smart with how we deploy our energy, our fuel, and use our tyres. What compounds is everybody on so far? Let's have a look. So we have most cars on mediums. Stroll under pressure here from Mick Schumacher.
If we can push more.
Copy.
Cannot afford to lose DRS with Stroll, so we need to push him on. But yeah, as I was saying, everybody seems to be on mediums. A few soft tyre runners, including Mick Schumacher, who's challenging Stroll. So important that we try and keep these guys behind if we can. And then just try and basically run with the medium runners. That's going to be our race, our strategy here today. Lance doesn't have the pace to keep up at the moment. He's struggling badly.
Yeah.
Ricciardo, Schumacher battling behind, but Stroll out of DRS range. Can't do much about this right now. I've used up a lot of battery. He just doesn't have the pace to keep up with Sebastian, who is saying, you know, with the cars ahead in standard modes. You see Stroll has no DRS. He should close up though into the first chicane. Under braking. A little bit anyway. Stroll under pressure here from Ricciardo, who's trying to recover. The McLarens definitely have an improved package. And there goes Daniel as he gets past. So at the moment, Norris has dropped out of DRS range of Zhou Guanyu. Zhou on the soft tyre. So not ideal. As this could be our race starting to fall apart. But we're chilling. We're comfortable behind the McLaren and the Ferrari at this stage. Also, Stroll has rejoined thanks to Ricciardo in a way, kind of bridging the gap between us. But look at this. It's all kicking off here. And this is a pretty decent multi-car scrap. Ricciardo looking to get by. That soft tyre looks to be working well. And there he goes up the inside of the Parabolica. And he's through. Easy move for Daniel. But Seb fights back. This is great action. 3 wide to turn 1. Seb re-overtakes Ricciardo, and now actually is going to go for the move on Sainz instead. And now Seb looking to get past Norris, and he does. So hold the phone. Let's try and chase after Zhou Guanyu.
You can use energy. Use energy. You can use energy.
You can see Zhou has dropped out of the RS range of the cars ahead. And there we go. We have the RS on Zhou, so we don't have to worry anymore. I'm actually going to go harvest for a bit and see if we can recharge a little bit of battery. Seb DRS. Yes, he does open it. There we go. Right, we've got Seb now in range. I'm actually going to do the same thing with Lance here. I'm going to try and harvest some energy. We're all in this little pack of cars, so as long as it stays like that, we should be okay. I don't mind if Seb drops behind the McLarens. We've managed to suck Zhou into this battle for P11. If anybody in the top 10 two-stops or drops out for an issue, then we're going to be on for a point. Look at this action. So Norris has actually got Sebastian. Seb was challenging Zhou. In the end, he ended up passing Seb, and Seb has to drop behind. Now, Stroll has dropped back behind Schumacher. This little pack of cars, they're struggling for a bit of pace. It is what it is. We'll try and catch back up eventually, but we need to recharge some battery with both cars. It's just a reality. It's just the way it is. This is fun, though. We can stick with this. Leaving both drivers in standard modes now. Just going to let them save a bit of tyres if possible. Looking at the tyre wear rates.
Now look at this. Daniel Ricciardo involved here. Just a bit too heavy on the brakes, and they've locked up.
Not ideal. Luckily, no contact didn't take our driver out, so that's all well and good. We are going to leave both of our cars now in standard modes for the rest of the stint as cars start to pit. So this is a crucial phase of the race then. Seb has Perez just ahead of him, who I believe has rejoined in front. So let's see if we can stick with Checo here with some DRS. That would be nice. That would drag us along very nicely indeed. Hamilton in the pit lane. He's going to rejoin behind us, which is good. But let's see if we try and stick with Checo here. This would be ideal, although I don't think we have the pace for it.
Use energy if you need it. Use energy.
Can we get back in maybe? Don't think we do. No, we don't. No point in wasting. Let's just let the race naturally progress. Hamilton now fighting through the pack here.
And McLaren with a great overtake.
So there goes Norris. And now Hamilton through on Seb as well. All action right now. We are racing Lando in this race. As for Stroll, he's chilling. He's got Alonso of a company who's just getting past him. And Gasly behind. It's all kicking off right now. So Ocon in the pit lane. We'll gain a place for now, although Ocon will drop back through. Seb has also repassed Lando Norris, but you can see they're still going at it. It's going to be the whole race like this, I think. Sainz just starting to struggle to hang on now. I think once we drop Sainz out of the DRS range, he might drop back. As for Lance, he's managed to just latch onto some DRS from Gasly and Alonso, who are battling ahead. Gasly currently with the fastest lap, although it does feel like Lance is just going to drop back now, unfortunately. Meanwhile, these two still going at it. And Norris actually pits, to be fair. So interesting. I think Norris was on a medium, so he's going for a hard tyre. I'm pretty sure. We'll find out now when he rejoins. I'd like to see. That's a very interesting strategy. And yeah, he's up to the hard tyre, so that could be an advantage. We're going for softs, so let's try and make that work. So important phase of the race, we're trying to make the strategy work, so we're going to have to go long. Sainz still not able to get past. Gasly and Alonso now closing in. And we're going to bunch up and form another little pack here. Also Ocon closing in on Lance Stroll. There goes Pierre, you can see 3 wide. Briefly, Sainz involved. Into Parabolica, Sainz goes through. And Alonso's going to get in on the action here and make it 3 wide, I'm guessing. And then eventually get past. Ocon getting past Stroll. So both Alpines moving on here. We're into the pit window, so we're going to start to push with both cars.
Happy to push. Copy.
I will save the battery for the in-lap, but we'll push with fuel and tyres now until we pit.
Let's take a closer look.
Straight away, Seb getting past Carlos. There it is, easy move. Now with a bit more tyre push in the engine, also commitment. Verstappen in.
Sounds like someone's locked up.
Alonso makes a mistake, which is going to give us a place back.
Okay, so there we have the Alpine.
That's Alonso's second lock-up this race.
That's the last thing they'll have wanted.
That's going to cost him a bunch of time. Now this is our in-lap. I'm going to push for a couple more and just try to extend it a bit if I can. So Seb has Alonso for company here. We're going to box Seb on the next lap. I think both drivers are going to pit, to be fair. I don't think there's going to be any time lost with the stack. So we will go ahead and go deploy with both, and we will bring them in now on this lap. So let's bring Seb in. We'll go for a set of, not medium, sorry, soft tyres. That's what we want. Set of softs. And same for Lance. We will bring him in for a set of softs. We will go for the double stack, and there shouldn't be any dramas. Both drivers, pretty decent pace on their in laps, considering what they have left on tyres. We will now go full recharge modes and do it before they pit. Right, it's time for the double stack. Sebastian into pit lane.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yep.
Let's see. So Seb in and Stroll about to follow. Should be fine to pull off this double stack, I think. Shouldn't be any dramas. Seb gets serviced. No sign of Lance. So Seb back underway. Here comes Stroll. He will now get his stop. 2.7 for Sebastian. What about Lance? 2.7 as well. Can't complain. Equal treatment. Soft tyres on for both. And they're now back underway. So Seb behind Sainz. We'll go straight to standard modes here to stick with the Spaniard. And Stroll is going to be neck and neck here with Albon and Schumacher, who he was battling beforehand. And he's going to be just in front of Schumacher. Just behind Albon. Right, we're going to trust the engine modes, the tyres and everything, and let the drivers crack on by themselves. We have lost out a little bit though to Norris. Obviously he pit a lot earlier for the hard tyre. You can see he's still on 83% though. But the soft tyre seems to have decent tyre wear here. So let's see what happens in the race. It's still open. Realistically, I don't think we're on for points unless something goes our way. So Stroll straight away getting to work, getting past Albon and now dropping him.
Martin have just gained a race position. Here's the replay. Now let's
Easy move.
It's Lance Stroll.
With the DRS, he gets past. Job done for Lance. We'll take that. I am actually going to set Lance here for a push lap. Once he passes Albon by himself, I'm going to make him push flat out and see if we can drop Stroll and Schumacher. Ideally, that would be the perfect scenario for me. So let's see. I will now go full push and attack. And we'll see if we can drop Albon here. So 7 tenths, 8 tenths, 9 tenths, a second. And there we go, we've got it. No need to push anymore. We've got the gap we need. So Stroll out of DRS range of Albon. We'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, for Sebastian, he's slowly closing in on Carlos.
We're not okay on fuel. Copy.
Not a major concern. We'll keep an eye on it. We've been notified early enough so I can manage it. Oh dear. Oh dear. So no major time lost, but he's right back where we started. You're never going to learn, Lance, are you? Let's just put him to harvest for now. Right, Seb is behind Sainz. We're just going to let him chill in DRS range for now. Get a bit of a recharge going, and then we'll send them on his way. Let's see if Stroll has the pace to drop. Gap is 9 tenths. Now a second, making sure that Schumacher doesn't get DRS here. Come on, Lance, let's go. As for Seb, he's right on the back of Sainz, so we can afford to let him chill a bit. Side by side with the Ferrari. And he's going to get through. Yes, he does. Our cars are really strong out of the second corner, the first chicane. We gained so much. Gap to Carlos Sainz, 8 tenths right now. I just wonder if we can maybe
So use energy.
pull away and drop DRS maybe. Not quite. It's going to be close. I think Sainz will have DRS there. Yes, he does. That's going to be the play out of turn 2. I'll do it on the next lap. Right, this will be the lap. If all goes well according to my calculations, we should pull away through here, which we do. Gap going up. We're so strong through this sequence. And let's just make sure the gap stays over a second as we head into the Lesmos. Okay, that should do it. Sainz won't have DRS anymore. Lovely. Right, fuel warning for Lance as well. We are, pretty close, but we are going to get lapped, I think. At least Lance is anyway. You can see the leaders are making their way onto the back straight. Leclerc under some big pressure from both Red Bulls and Hamilton. So, yeah, Leclerc has got 8, possibly 9 World Championships breathing down his neck at this stage of the race. So, yeah, That's a different race, different ball game. Right, Stroll about to get lapped here by the leading group. Hopefully doesn't disrupt things too much. Look at this. Stroll has 4 cars breathing down his neck. Someone's made a mistake. Either way, look at this. So Stroll lets Leclerc by. He's going to cost the Red Bulls though. Ricciardo with a mistake, and that's going to allow Seb to close in a bit, but we don't really have to pace anymore. And there you go, Stroll lets everybody else by, but he's done Leclerc a massive favour as that has given him a gap to win this race on home turf. Right, last lap of the race. Seb chasing down Ricciardo, and is actually catching him to be fair, but it's not going to be enough. So P14 for Sebastian here today, and as for Lance, he'll be a lap down. Struggling on tyres, but there we go, job done for us here today in Monza. No points to be expected.
Let's check the flag.
Well, it was a race full of struggle.
Tough day.
So yeah, pretty much summed up by Seb to be fair. It was a race with a struggle. And yeah, Charles Leclerc wins ahead of Perez and Hamilton. Verstappen ends up missing out on the podium. Russell P5. Decent weekend though, all round considering the limitations. We've got some runtime for Drogovic as well. And yeah, as you can see, about what we expected. We beat a Ferrari on raw pace. Sainz clearly using a used power unit for this one, and it had a massive effect on his pace. We saw it last race with us in Zandvoort. But yeah, there's a lot. Not really near the points today, about 15 seconds away. Of course, we're going to have the same car in Singapore, but it should suit our car anyway, more of that circuit. And then we've got an upgrade, of course, for Japan. Championship order, we're still P11. Tsunoda does gain a couple more points, but he's still 7 adrift. Stroll 1 ahead of Zhou and 4 ahead of Magnussen in the Constructors. Still P7, but Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri again gain points and pull away from us. Gap to McLaren though, still 16 points. And like I said before, Singapore next up. Potentially our best chance to solidify P7 in this season's championship. As for bonuses, Seb 1,200 points, Lance 1,300 points, and Drogovic 900 points. So decent gains all round for all 3 of our drivers. And finally, cash payouts, no outgoings, all incomings. Pure profit as we hit our guarantees as well, so happy days. So back in the office, we have 4 emails to catch up on. So, most teams, except for AlphaTauri and Mercedes, voted for a reduction in the cost cap, which is good. I'm happy with that. Post-race review, debrief, as you can see, says, again, high-speed cooling of car 1 could be better, and the braking performance of Seb could also be improved, which we have been working on lately with, his development points, and we have another one to spend now. Here is the review from the board, and they are happy overall with that one. Their confidence has increased, so I'm happy to see that considering it wasn't our best race. As for Seb though, development point, we'll go ahead and spend it on braking, and that's also going to rank him up to level 84 now. So Seb making the right progress and improving, which is what we love to see. Do we have a point for Drogovic? Yes, we do. For braking as well is going to be, I think, where we're going to invest it with him. Accuracy also needs to be worked on, but that's, down the line. Nothing for Stroll right now, but everything's looking pretty decent. Now then, the next race is in 3 weeks, the Singapore Grand Prix. And then just as it finishes, we get our new chassis upgrade arrive just after that race, which should be hopefully manufactured in time for the Japanese Grand Prix. So, yeah, I'm looking at the next ATR period, which is going to end in late October. To be fair, there's quite a lot of races, so we're going to struggle to really make progress, I think, in this season, what's left of it. We have a new aerodynamic testing period, which will be the final one of the season, in which we'll also do the final bit of research for, I believe, the rear wing for next season's car. So we'll have the chance to bring an upgrade before the season's out in the closing races, if we're lucky. Either way, yeah, upgrades are going to be pretty spare until the season ends. So we'll try and do the best we can with the tools we have. Now we're going to quickly go ahead and manufacture a floor, as we need a spare, thanks to, of course, Seb running off track in practice. It's not desperately needed on the car, it's just a spare part, which we'll go ahead and get. And there it is, already ready to go for the next race. And just like that, we are now at Marina Bay for the Singapore Grand Prix. I'm putting a lot of faith into this one. I will admit, the 3 races, or the 2 races that I've hyped up, no, actually 3 to be fair, that I've hyped up so far, which were meant to suit our car, have been pretty meh. Monaco, Hungary, and Zandvoort. So I don't want to put too much stock into this, but surely this will be a better opportunity for us to try and bag some points. Either way, we'll find out in the next episode. Guys, if you enjoyed this race, leave a like and subscribe. I really hope we can fight for points in Singapore because I'm desperate for a couple of points just to try and improve team morale, to be honest with you. Before we go, I will spend some money really quickly on the CFD simulator. We can afford to invest $12 million. We've got 16 to our name right now, so we will go ahead and get that upgraded. Again, we're trying to put all the building blocks in place. As you can see here, we've got big facility upgrades on the way, and this is all the building blocks for next season, you know, and also during the off season as well, which is really, really important. So yeah, once this all arrives, we should be able to really work on next season's project really, really well. Either way, let's try and smash over 750 likes, guys, as we head into Singapore next. Subscribe for more. For daily F1 content, guys, I'd much appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, a massive shout out and plug to the members for supporting the content. As always, check out the videos on screen if you haven't seen them. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care, and let's go back from me.